Hello everyone, Dave Fernandez here, and today I want to talk to you about the power that asking the right questions can have in your life, in the results that you're getting in different areas of your life, or the solutions that you're searching for in order to solve a lot of the problems that you're experiencing currently or that you will experience in the near future. It may sound like common sense that asking the right questions are key to getting the right answers, but unfortunately that's not the case. And it could be as simple as just training yourself how to think in open-ended questions that can elicit better answers, deeper thinking, and even out-of-the-box thinking. I remember many years ago reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which was one of the first self-development books that I ever read. And actually the first time I was exposed to this, asking the right question concept. In one of the sections there, he talks about how we, are programmed to think in a certain way around money, especially if you come from a middle class background. And one of the things that he talks about is that middle classers usually think, if something is too expensive, I can't afford it, therefore I won't even try to do anything about it, right? And what he says is that you need to reframe that question, or that statement, I should say. You need to reframe the statement, I can't afford something, and turn it around and say something like, how can I afford this, right? Look at the difference, My very energy just shifted by turning around this statement, because now we're asking an open-ended question that will elicit all kinds of ideas, thoughts, a new way of thinking, right? That up until this moment wasn't there because, you were ending the statement with a period, like, I can't afford it. That's it, let's move on. But now you're asking an open-ended question that is eliciting all these thoughts, a new way of thinking, and ideas, possibilities, things that you couldn't see before because you were not allowing yourself to see them, now are available to you. And I'm gonna give you a number of examples so you can see how using this concept of asking the right questions of yourself or other people, right? That's another thing. You can use these questions to probe information from other people, and I'll get to that in a minute. But now let's explore some of the questions that you could ask of yourself, in order to start eliciting ideas and new ways of thinking about things that up until now you didn't see as possible for you. I'd like to show you a slide right now, so I'm going to bring you in my computer right now for a moment so you can actually see this visually. I think it'll be very beneficial. Just like I mentioned at the beginning briefly, this is all about training your mind to start thinking in a new way, okay? So, whereas before you were thinking about closed-ended statements that are leading to nothing because they literally close the loop of possibilities for you. So now I'd like to give you some examples on how you can start thinking differently in a number of different areas. So for example, starting with the first one, don't say, I can't afford it. Say, how can I afford it? Don't say, I can't do that. Say, how can I learn how to do that? Don't say, I don't have what it takes. Say, what does it take? And how can I develop those skills? Don't say, I'm not good at it. Say, how can I get better at it? Don't say, that's too hard. Say, how can I simplify it? Don't say, I don't know where to start. Say, who would know where I should start and how could I get in touch with that person? Don't say, that would be impossible. Say, what would it take and what would be the first step? Can you see the power in this technique and the possibilities that it would open up for you if you started to think this way? It's a very simple thing to do. Just start getting into the habit of thinking in open-ended questions. Whenever you see yourself shutting yourself down, right? If somebody asks you to do something and you immediately, put a barrier between you and them or something, take a minute, reframe the question. How could I fulfill that request? How could I pursue this project? How could I do this? How could I get a loan for my house? How could I, buy a better car? How could I get a better job? Who could help me? How do I get in touch with these people? It is that simple. But the good thing is that it doesn't end there, because as you've heard me, I've been alluding to asking other people for help. So this is like the second part of asking the right questions. When you're asking someone for something and the answer is no, right? That's the moment when you, again, use the same technique and reframe your questions until that person opens up. So what you're doing is literally using this technique in order to get whatever you want from whoever you want it from, okay? I'll tell you a story about this and then I'll give you a few examples. I remember many years ago, I was on the phone with some clerk at a place and I needed something from my account printed out because I was applying for something and they needed to see proof of whatever it is that I needed. And so I called this person and they say, I'm sorry, but we have a policy, we cannot release this information. I'm like, okay, it is my information. How is it that you cannot print it out or email me that page that says, I have what they need? And the person's like, I'm sorry, sir, it's just a company policy. I cannot do it. Well, I was with this person on the phone for several minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes, just going, back and forth with this. Like I couldn't understand if that's my information. How is it that I cannot have a simple email just stating so? So what happened is that I immediately thought, well, how can I get this from this person? Right. So naturally, I asked to talk to a manager, and she put me with a manager. I asked the same questions, and I just said, ma'am, this is the problem that I'm having. I understand that you have policies against releasing this information even to the user or whatever. How can I go about getting this information? Because I need it today. How can I make this happen? This is all I need. Can you please help me? That question turned everything around. That person all of a sudden said, you know what? There's a way that you can get this information without us actually sending it to you. And she gave me step by step what to do, how to access the system in a certain way that would lead to a page that would actually have proof of whatever I needed to show. And that was it. 5 minutes before that, I was with somebody that was giving me a close-ended answer. No, I'm sorry, we cannot do it. We cannot do it. There's no way we can do it. No, sir, no, sir, no, sir. All of a sudden, I reframed the question to a person that could actually give me an answer, and that person gave me step-by-step instructions on how to get it, right? So that's the power of asking the right question. I'll tell you another story that is even more powerful than that. One that actually changed my life completely. Many years ago, when I was still in corporate, I wanted to make a career change, and I was working in a certain department at a certain company, and then I wanted to move over to a different department and start a new career. So what I did was to ask myself, how can I make this happen for me? I went to a certain person, I got an idea, and I said, well, let me ask this lady. At least I'll get her opinion on this. She said, you know what? I happen to know the person that can answer your questions about this. Phenomenal. So she sent me to somebody to answer some of the questions that I had, which were, I wanted to see if I needed to go back to school in order to get a degree on the topic, or if I could just do a master's degree, because I already had a bachelor's. If I could do a master's, and that would do the trick, and I could do the switch, eventually get a job in that department. This person gave me his view on everything, right? And he asked me, so what's the goal? Well, the goal is to come work here. Literally, I want to work in this department. And so, well, we happen to have an opening, and this is what we could do. You go interview with my managers, and they can tell you a little bit more about the position, what it is about. You actually don't necessarily need a degree, to do that job. And the beauty is that if you make the transfer here, we would actually pay for your master's degree if that's what you want to get. And I was like floored, as you can imagine, right? The power of asking the right questions. I asked it first of myself, then I went and asked it of somebody else, and then I went further and asked it of the right person, right? The right person gave me exactly what I wanted. what a life-changing experience. And I'm super grateful for all of them for having given me the opportunity to make that switch. It was totally life-changing for me. So as you can see, the questions are not really that different, whether you're asking yourself the question or you're asking those questions of yourself. It's really the same question that you're using. It's an open-ended question that will lead to answers, logical answers, deep thinking answers, out-of-the-box answers, all the answers that you need in order to solve whatever problem you're trying to solve. If you want to take this further, I suggest you start journaling some of these statements that come up whenever you're presented with a new opportunity or you're trying to solve a problem, and you notice how you shut yourself off without even thinking about it, right? Write these things down. How are you shutting yourself off? What are you telling yourself and why? Try to dig deep to see, where these statements are being generated. And I'll tell you, usually past programming, right? At some point something happened in your life that led you to begin thinking that way up until today. And you will continue thinking that way unless you bring it to your conscious mind and work at it, just like you're doing right now, right? Write the statement as it comes up, and then write next to it how you would 180 that statement. What is it that you would ask or that you want to start asking of yourself every time you're presented with a similar situation, or that you feel, stuck in that statement, right? That you start telling yourself, I cannot do this. This is impossible. This is too hard. This is not for me. I'm not good at it. I'm never gonna be good at it. I don't think I have the gift for it. Whatever the statement is, whatever limiting thought that you're having, turn it around and start writing, how can I be better at it? How could I, pursue this opportunity? How could I afford this? How could I start my business? How could I, ask somebody for help or for the right help? How could I get this done? How could I? That's all that has to happen. I promise you that if you do this, you will bring enormous awareness into your life, and things will start changing, because now all the doors that were closed for you, that were self-imposed closed for you, now they're gonna open up and new things are gonna start showing up in your life, and it's just gonna explode. That's how you expand your comfort zone, okay? By allowing new things into your life, by saying yes to them. And that's how you say yes to things sometimes. Please share your thoughts down below with me in the comments, and also let me know what part of this video was the most impactful for you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know next time there's a video available. In the meantime, go ahead and watch any of these 2 videos. I'm sure they'll add a lot of value to your life as well. Until next time, I wish you all the best, and let's get out there and start changing lives one session at a time. See ya.